Our planet is warming. This is not a future threat, but a present reality. The Earth's temperature has been steadily rising, with the last few decades showing the most dramatic increase. This warming trend, driven by human activities, has set in motion a cascade of changes across the globe. From the melting ice caps to the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, the signs are undeniable. We are living in a time of unprecedented environmental change. The urgency of the situation cannot be overstated. The longer we wait to act, the more severe the consequences will be. Our planet is resilient, but its capacity to absorb the shocks we are delivering is not limitless. We are approaching a tipping point beyond which the damage may become irreversible. The time to act is now, while we still have the opportunity to alter our course. Though often unseen in our day-to-day lives, the effects of climate change are widespread and insidious. They are slowly but surely reshaping our world, impacting everything from the air we breathe to the water we drink. The delicate balance of ecosystems is being disrupted, threatening the very foundations of life on Earth. The consequences are already being felt around the world. Rising sea levels are swallowing coastlines, displacing communities and threatening vital infrastructure. Extreme weather events, from hurricanes to heat waves, are becoming more frequent and intense, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. These are not isolated incidents, but rather symptoms of a planet in distress. Despite the grim reality, there is still hope. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the capacity to address this crisis, but it requires a collective effort, a unified response from individuals, governments, and industries alike. We must act decisively, and we must act now. This is not a challenge for future generations to solve. It is our responsibility to act and to act now. The future of our planet and the well-being of generations to come depends on the choices we make today. Let us choose wisely, let us choose boldly, and let us choose to act before it is too late. The polar regions, Earth's icy crown jewels, stand as stark reminders of the planet's changing climate. These pristine landscapes, once seemingly timeless and unchanging, are now experiencing the most rapid warming on the planet. The consequences of this warming are profound, impacting not only the delicate ecosystems of the Arctic and Antarctic, but also the balance of the entire planet. The Arctic, home to iconic species like polar bears and walruses, is warming at twice the rate of the rest of the world. This warming trend is causing the Arctic sea ice, a vital habitat for many species and a crucial regulator of Earth's temperature, to shrink at an alarming rate. As the ice melts, it exposes darker ocean water, which absorbs more heat, further accelerating the warming cycle. This feedback loop has far-reaching consequences, contributing to rising sea levels and disrupting weather patterns across the globe. Sea level rise, a direct consequence of melting glaciers and the expansion of warming ocean water, poses one of the most significant threats of climate change. As global temperatures rise, so too does the level of the oceans, encroaching upon coastlines and threatening coastal communities around the world. The impact of sea level rise is not uniform. Some regions are experiencing more rapid rates of rise than others due to factors such as ocean currents and the sinking of land masses. Low-lying island nations and coastal cities are particularly vulnerable, facing the risk of inundation, erosion, and the loss of vital infrastructure. The displacement of millions of people and the economic costs of adapting to rising seas paint a sobering picture of the challenges ahead. Millions of people around the world call coastal regions home, drawn by the allure of the ocean, the economic opportunities, and the cultural heritage these areas provide. However, as sea levels rise, these coastal communities are facing unprecedented challenges. From small island nations facing existential threats to bustling megacities grappling with the need for costly adaptation measures, the human toll of climate change is becoming increasingly evident. The displacement of communities due to rising seas is not just a future threat, it is already a reality for many. In some regions, entire villages have been forced to relocate, their ancestral lands claimed by the encroaching ocean. The loss of homes, livelihoods, and cultural heritage represents a profound human cost of climate change, one that is likely to intensify in the coming decades. The polar regions, though geographically distant from many, serve as a stark warning of the global consequences of climate change. The rapid changes occurring in these fragile ecosystems are a harbinger of what is to come for the rest of the planet if we fail to act. The melting ice caps, rising sea levels, and disrupted weather patterns are all interconnected, highlighting the interconnectedness of Earth's systems. The fate of the polar regions is inextricably linked to our own. As the ice melts and the oceans rise, the impacts will be felt far beyond the Arctic and Antarctic circles. The message from the poles is clear. Climate change is real, it is happening now, and it demands our immediate attention. Forests, the Earth's emerald tapestry, are facing unprecedented challenges in the face of climate change. These vital ecosystems, home to a staggering array of plant and animal life, are under assault from multiple fronts, their delicate balance disrupted by the warming planet. The consequences of this disruption are far-reaching, impacting not only the forests themselves, but also the countless species that depend on them and the global climate system as a whole. One of the most visible and devastating impacts of climate change on forests is the increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires. As temperatures rise and droughts become more common, forests become tinderboxes, primed for ignition. Wildfires, once a natural part of forest ecosystems, are now raging with unprecedented ferocity, consuming vast swaths of land, releasing massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and leaving behind a trail of ecological devastation. While wildfires capture headlines with their dramatic displays of destruction, a quieter, more insidious threat is also taking its toll on forests: climate-induced tree mortality. As temperatures rise and precipitation patterns change, trees are increasingly stressed, making them more susceptible to disease, insect infestations, and drought. This slow, silent death of trees is occurring on a global scale with profound consequences for forest ecosystems and the global carbon cycle. Trees play a vital role in regulating Earth's climate, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis and storing it in their wood, leaves, and roots. When trees die, they release this stored carbon back into the atmosphere, contributing to the greenhouse effect and further accelerating climate change. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where climate change leads to tree mortality, which in turn exacerbates climate change. As temperatures rise and precipitation patterns shift, the ranges of plant and animal species are also changing. Species adapted to cooler, wetter conditions are being forced to migrate to higher elevations or latitudes in search of suitable habitats, while those adapted to warmer, drier conditions are expanding their ranges. This reshuffling of species is disrupting ecosystems, altering food webs, and increasing competition for resources. For some species, the pace of climate change is simply too rapid for them to adapt. Species with limited dispersal abilities or specialized habitat requirements are particularly vulnerable. As their habitats disappear or become unsuitable, these species face an uncertain future, with extinction a very real possibility. The loss of biodiversity not only diminishes the beauty and wonder of the natural world, but also has profound implications for ecosystem health and the services they provide to humanity. Forests are not merely passive victims of climate change. They are also powerful allies in the fight against it. Protecting and restoring forests is one of the most effective and cost-efficient ways to mitigate climate change. Forests act as carbon sinks, absorbing and storing vast amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. By protecting existing forests from deforestation and degradation and by planting new trees, we can enhance this carbon sequestration capacity, helping to slow the rate of climate change. Moreover, healthy forests provide a wide range of ecosystem services, including clean air and water, soil conservation and flood regulation, all of which are essential for human well-being. Investing in forest conservation and restoration is not just an environmental imperative, it is also an investment in our own future. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is a profoundly human issue touching every aspect of our lives. As the planet warms and weather patterns become more extreme, the consequences are being felt by communities around the world, from rural villages to bustling megacities. The very fabric of human societies, built upon a stable climate, is being tested as never before. The impacts of climate change are multifaceted and interconnected. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities, while extreme weather events, from hurricanes to heat waves, disrupt lives and livelihoods. Changes in temperature and precipitation patterns are affecting agricultural yields, putting global food security at risk. Water scarcity is becoming an increasingly pressing concern in many regions, while the spread of vector-borne diseases is posing new threats to human health. Agriculture, the foundation of human civilization, is intricately linked to climate. For millennia, farmers have adapted their practices to the rhythms of nature, planting and harvesting according to predictable weather patterns. However, climate change is disrupting these ancient rhythms, creating uncertainty and jeopardizing food security for millions around the world. Rising temperatures, changes in precipitation patterns, and the increasing frequency of extreme weather events such as droughts and floods are all taking a toll on agricultural yields. Crops are failing in fields parched by drought, while floods wash away fertile topsoil and inundate crops. The delicate balance of ecosystems is being disrupted, with pests and diseases spreading to new areas and threatening harvests. Water, the elixir of life, is becoming an increasingly precious resource in a warming world. Climate change is altering the global water cycle, intensifying both droughts and floods, and threatening the availability of fresh water for human consumption, agriculture, and industry. From the arid plains of Africa to the bustling cities of Asia, the consequences of water scarcity are being felt around the world. Glaciers, once reliable sources of fresh water for millions, are melting at an alarming rate, reducing the flow of rivers and streams that sustain communities downstream. Changes in precipitation patterns are leading to more frequent and intense droughts in some regions, while other areas are experiencing more frequent and severe flooding. These extremes of the water cycle have devastating consequences, from crop failures and livestock losses to water shortages and displacement of communities. Climate change is not just an environmental threat, it is a growing threat to human health. As temperatures rise and weather patterns become more extreme, the risks to human health are multiplying, from heat stroke and respiratory illnesses to the spread of infectious diseases. The most vulnerable populations, including the elderly, children, and those with underlying health conditions, are disproportionately affected. Extreme heat events are becoming more frequent and intense, putting a strain on human physiology. Heat stroke, a life-threatening condition, occurs when the body's temperature regulation system is overwhelmed, leading to organ damage and even death. Respiratory illnesses such as asthma and allergies are exacerbated by air pollution, which is often worse during heat waves. Amidst the sobering realities of climate change, a glimmer of hope emerges from the realm of technology. Human ingenuity, which has driven centuries of progress, now holds the key to mitigating the worst effects of a warming planet and transitioning to a more sustainable future. The challenge is immense, requiring a fundamental shift in how we produce and consume energy, but the tools and technologies are within reach. The urgency of the climate crisis demands a rapid and radical transformation of our energy systems, moving away from fossil fuels, the primary drivers of greenhouse gas emissions, towards cleaner, more sustainable alternatives. This transition will require significant investments in research and development, infrastructure, and policy changes to incentivize the adoption of clean energy technologies. Renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal offer a pathway to a future powered by clean, inexhaustible resources. Unlike fossil fuels, which release harmful pollutants and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, Renewables harness the power of nature without depleting its resources. The sun, the wind, the flow of water, and the heat of the Earth's core provide a constant and sustainable energy supply waiting to be harnessed. The cost of renewable energy technologies has plummeted in recent years, making them increasingly competitive with fossil fuels. Solar panels, once a costly novelty, are now commonplace on rooftops and in vast solar farms. Wind turbines, towering sentinels of the clean energy revolution, dot landscapes from rolling hills to offshore wind farms. Hydropower, a long-established renewable energy source, continues to provide a significant portion of global electricity. Transitioning beyond fossil fuels requires not only embracing renewable energy sources, but also improving energy efficiency and reducing energy demand. Buildings, transportation, and industry account for a significant portion of global energy consumption, and there is tremendous potential for reducing energy waste and improving efficiency in these sectors. Energy-efficient buildings designed to minimize energy use for heating, cooling, and lighting can significantly reduce energy consumption. Public transportation systems, electric vehicles, and active transportation options such as cycling and walking offer cleaner alternatives to fossil fuel-powered cars and trucks. In industry, energy efficiency measures such as process optimization and waste heat recovery can reduce energy use and emissions. The fight against climate change is not just about deploying existing technologies, but also about fostering innovation and developing new solutions. From carbon capture and storage technologies that can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to next-generation batteries that can store renewable energy more efficiently, the frontiers of science and technology offer promising avenues for addressing the climate challenge. Investing in research and development is crucial for driving technological breakthroughs and bringing down the cost of clean energy technologies. Governments, businesses, and research institutions all have a role to play in fostering innovation and creating a supportive environment for the development and deployment of climate solutions. The challenges are complex, but human ingenuity, coupled with a sense of urgency and collective action, can pave the way to a more sustainable future. Addressing the multifaceted challenges of climate change requires a concerted global effort, transcending national borders and political ideologies. The interconnected nature of Earth's systems means that the actions of one nation have ripple effects across the globe. Greenhouse gas emissions, regardless of their source, contribute to the warming of the planet, impacting weather patterns, sea levels, and ecosystems worldwide. International cooperation is essential for sharing knowledge, coordinating policies, and providing financial and technological support to developing nations. The Paris Agreement, a landmark global accord aimed at limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, stands as a testament to the power of collective action. However, translating commitments into concrete actions requires sustained political will and a shared sense of responsibility. The consequences of inaction on climate change are far-reaching and potentially catastrophic. Failure to curb greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impacts of a warming planet will result in increasingly severe and irreversible consequences, both for the natural world and for human societies. The costs of inaction, both in terms of economic losses and human suffering, far outweigh the costs of taking action. Rising sea levels threaten to displace millions of people, inundate coastal cities, and submerge entire island nations. Extreme weather events, from hurricanes to heat waves, will become more frequent and intense, causing widespread destruction, loss of life, and economic disruption. Food and water security will be increasingly jeopardized, leading to conflict and instability. Transitioning to a more sustainable future requires a fundamental shift in our values, priorities, and behaviors. We must move away from a model of economic growth based on the unsustainable exploitation of natural resources towards a more circular economy that prioritizes resource efficiency, waste reduction, and renewable energy. This transition will require a collective effort involving governments, businesses, communities, and individuals all working together to create a more sustainable and equitable world. Governments have a crucial role to play in setting ambitious climate targets, implementing policies that incentivize sustainable practices, and investing in research and development of clean technologies. Businesses must embrace sustainability as a core value, reducing their environmental footprint and innovating new solutions to environmental challenges. Communities can foster local resilience by promoting sustainable practices, reducing their carbon footprint, and preparing for the impacts of climate change. The climate crisis is a defining challenge of our time, but it is not insurmountable. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the capacity to avert the worst consequences of climate change and create a more sustainable and equitable future for all. What is needed now is a collective awakening, a recognition that the fate of our planet is inextricably linked to our own, and that the time for action is now. Each and every one of us has a role to play in this collective endeavor. From making sustainable choices in our daily lives to advocating for policy changes, our actions, no matter how small they may seem, can collectively make a difference. By embracing our shared responsibility for the planet, we can create a future where both humanity and nature can thrive. The evidence is clear. Our planet is warming at an alarming rate, and the consequences are already being felt around the world. From the melting ice caps to the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, the signs of climate change are undeniable. This is not a distant threat. It is a present reality that demands our immediate attention. The longer we delay action, the more severe the impacts will be, and the more difficult it will be to avert catastrophic and irreversible changes to our planet's climate system. The scientific consensus is overwhelming. Human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, are the dominant cause of this warming trend. The release of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere is trapping heat and altering the delicate balance of Earth's climate system. The impacts are far-reaching, affecting not only the environment but also human health, food security, water resources, and global stability. Addressing this global challenge requires a collective effort, transcending national borders, political ideologies, and socio-economic differences. We are all interconnected, sharing one planet and a common destiny. The actions of one nation have ripple effects across the globe, and the consequences of inaction will be felt by all, albeit unequally. Developed nations, having contributed the most to the problem, have a moral obligation to lead the way in reducing emissions and providing financial and technological support to developing nations. But individual actions matter too. Each and every one of us has a role to play in this collective endeavor. By making sustainable choices in our daily lives, reducing our carbon footprint, and advocating for policy changes, we can contribute to a global solution. From the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, to the way we travel and power our homes, our choices have an impact. By embracing a more sustainable lifestyle, we not only reduce our own environmental impact, but also inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect that can lead to meaningful change. Despite the magnitude of the challenge, there is still hope. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the capacity to mitigate the worst effects of climate change and transition to a more sustainable future. Renewable energy technologies such as solar, wind, and geothermal are becoming increasingly affordable and efficient, offering cleaner alternatives to fossil fuels. Energy efficiency measures, sustainable transportation systems, and innovative agricultural practices can further reduce our environmental impact. But technology alone is not enough. We need a fundamental shift in our values and priorities, moving away from a model of economic growth based on the unsustainable exploitation of natural resources towards a more circular economy that prioritizes resource efficiency, waste reduction, and renewable energy. This transition requires a collective effort involving governments, businesses, communities, and individuals, all working together to create a more sustainable and equitable world. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now. We must act decisively and collectively to address the climate crisis before it is too late. Let us embrace our shared responsibility for the planet and work together to create a future where both humanity and nature can thrive. Let us be the generation that turns the tide on climate change, leaving behind a legacy of a healthy and vibrant planet for generations to come. The future is in our hands, and it is up to us to choose wisely.